Lab Chat.
Which was, if you want creators to provide the audience in Sansar, Judy Chestnut asks, will you be providing tools like Steam does to promote your experiences?
Ooh.
Yeah, you mean like, get placed in a directory of some kind?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Over time, I'm sure, yes, that we want to make sure that we want to think about how we can collect the right type of metadata associated with an experience so that we can easily surface this experience in various ways, whether it's, from external search engines. We want each experience by default to have an associated web page so that each experience can actually get, SEO traffic and have its own landing page. And then over time, figuring out how we can make it easy for creators to customize those landing pages, or even, ultimately they can provide their own if they rather have highly sophisticated websites that can lead people into these experiences. With that metadata is what will ultimately help us with search, with creating directories, and ultimately then at some point also, once you get to a certain volume, you can start to infer, hey, I've seen you like these 3 experiences. Well, maybe then you'll also like these other 4 experiences, because we notice other people that like those also like these, and try and help people discover experiences. But you have to get to a certain volume for those kinds of things to start to make sense. But if we start with making sure we get the right sort of data collected in a good way for each experience, then we can start to apply those things on top of that.
Excellent. I have one from the audience asked by Mistress Dynasty. And she asked something, this one is one for the people who are really into fashion, I think. She asked, what about mirrors? Why can't we have mirrors in Second Life? And of course, also, will we have them in Sansar? We have water that does reflection very well. Could we maybe perhaps have vertical water, which would also be very nice for waterfalls, things like that?
I don't know yet. I know mirrors is kind of complicated. I don't know exactly why, but I can sort of understand why it's complicated when you think about how you have to handle lighting. But we certainly are going to support a whole lot more over time capabilities in our rendering engine than Second Life could. We're actually rewriting the rendering engine that we have in Sansar right now, yet again. Because we realized that the flexibility which by we could add more features quickly on top of the architecture we had would sort of constrain ourselves down the road. So we made the decision to actually just do it right. And so a small team with really talented people are cranking away on that, and that should be done sort of in the end of Q1 timeframe. So then we'll flip Sansar from being on the current renderer to a new renderer. That new renderer will also be able to take advantage of hardware on a per platform basis. So, DirectX on, Windows platforms and Metal on iOS platforms, etc., so that we can be even more performant. And then as well gives us more flexibility to pile features on top, whether it's things like water or atmospherics or all kinds of things that we all want. So, but when each one of those features will exactly arrive, I don't know. I just know that it's going to be possible. As far as mirrors, I don't know for sure. It's kind of a unique problem in of itself. I would have to ask some people whether we expect
just
mirrors.
turn water on its side.
We've actually heard that.
Sounds so easy.
Someone said about third-party developers have worked a way of doing mirrors. They would need to talk to Linden Lab developers about that, and it could be fun to have.
I would love to have them, because especially in VR, when you're in the world and be able to see yourself personally, I think a first-person view in VR makes more sense for me, at least. But that all depends on the experience, and it's up to the creator and users in various cases. But
I don't want to
the ability for me to
completely
get dressed
yes.
and be able to see my appearance in front of me, rather than have to do an outer body experience move to look at myself, makes a lot of sense. But yeah.
Okay, we've had several questions about content and problems with content, with infringements on trademarks, and how this and copyrights and IP rights, which of course is a perennial problem in Second Life. People are asking, how is this going to be monitored in Sansar? And are you going to get tougher on it in Second Life as well?
Well, I mean, we have, I'm looking at them right now. We have a couple of people here that's pretty much all they do, is act on these sort of requests. And obviously, we have to build a system where it's easy for us to take content down when it's found to be infringing for whatever reason. And so that's kind of a core capability. We just need to make sure that the platform, if you're dealing with user-generated content, this is just an ability you have to have, is to efficiently manage the process of takedown requests, being able to investigate those, and then take action of those, and make sure that all the various parties are correctly informed about these actions and why. The people that are working on that now don't necessarily have the absolute best tools they could have, and they could probably be a lot more efficient if we streamline some of the tools they get to use. So that is something will be something we just have to do. I mean, you just can't get away with a user-created platform like this without those capabilities. As to whether we need to be more strict than we already are today, or I'm not sure. I think the team we have is doing a fantastic job as it is. So I'm not sure if we need significant changes there right now. Although I know the team would love to have the improvements to the tools they have to use every day to do their jobs.
I can imagine. It's a pretty thankless task, I should imagine.
But the next question comes from Frauke Horenbeek. Yes, people, that is how you pronounce it. There are several 3D worlds being built right now. High Fidelity, Google, Facebook, Oculus Rift world, whatever. The advantage Linden Lab has with Second Life is that the content creators in Second Life, and they could bring them with them. And the greatest creative team in 3D worlds right now is here in Second Life. How are you trying to take them with you and not have them divide work over all these worlds?
Well, one thing is we obviously try to continue to make Second Life better and better so that people don't find reasons to leave. And I think the team has done a pretty good job lately, whether it's new avatars or better performance. And we're going to continue with some of the things that I spoke about earlier. And the other one is to make the opportunity for you to participate in Sansar something that would be more convenient and easier to do than any other competitive choices out there. I mean, it certainly would be easier for you if you could just wholesale just throw your content over and it would just work as you want it day one. But unfortunately, we have to sort of take call it a backwards compatibility break in order to move into the future. So we couldn't offer that directly, but helping you guys understand that if you work with Mesh, if you maybe start to sharpen your C# skills, then you will have assets and skills that will be completely relevant for you to get up and going quickly in creating in Sansar. And like I said earlier, we do want to find some way to make it not burdensome or not too burdensome for creators to participate in both Second Life and Sansar simultaneously. So we'll think about what the right model for that is. But we obviously want to make sure that we retain all these incredible creators we have on Second Life, whether they decide to remain in Second Life or or play in Sansar, or both. So, like I said, the creators is our primary user, and that's customer, and our job is to make creators love working on our platforms more than any other.
Right, well, another question. This comes from Maxwell Graf, and it's in acquiring creators from Second Life to Sansar. Can there be any way to help make the transition easier for existing business owners in the way of some sort of business insurance plan or reduced tier until the new economy gets going?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, I think we need to, offer something unique and special for our existing customers in Second Life when it comes to access and costs associated with Sansar, to give you, the time to, transition over, a reasonable time frame without having to sort of, get hit with, full costs on both sides. I think that's something we have to figure out. So more to come on that.
Okay.
Excellent. Let's see. We got so many questions. They're flying all over the place.
I'm trying to not read them myself, because then I can't read and speak. I can't read and listen at the same time either. It drives my wife crazy.
Multitasking.
It's
You heard
a
it here
bug.
first, people. Ebbe can't read and speak at the same time.
I certainly can't read and listen at the same time. It drives my wife crazy.
Well,
I'm on the phone reading a blog or a tweet, and then she says something, and I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah.
Let me see which. Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult. I have to pick a nice one, an interesting one. There's just so many. Have you got another one, Saffia? I'm still going through the list.
I was asked a question by iSky Silverweb. There was a question from iSky Silverweb about, would it be possible in Sansar to do voice and text chat simultaneously, so that I think the idea is if you speak, it automatically gets transcribed into chat if you want it to, which could be a huge help.
This question has come up quite a few times before. I think the text-to-speech and speech-to-text conversion process is just getting better and better and better. And whether it's a service offered by Google or by Microsoft, I mean, we're certainly not going to, write that converter ourselves, but services are available on the market at some price, where it wouldn't be too hard for us to plug in one of those services so that you could have a speech-to-text or text-to-speech conversion. And now we're even getting what you're getting in Skype. Someday here you'll be able to have two people talking to each other in different languages and have it converted on the fly. So, which would be really cool as well for
Absolutely.
People from different countries being able to speak their local language but understand each other. I think those things will all come. It's not something that we're working to solve, but I think once the pricing and availability of those capabilities are out there on the market, which I think they already are today, I just don't know if they're in the price range yet, for us to be able to use them sort of wholesale across the whole system without, just incurring extra fees when it's maybe not used that often. So we would have to see how to introduce those. But I don't think those are going to be particularly difficult to do. It's probably more of a timing and a pricing cost thing than a technical thing.
Yeah.
Question coming in from... Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, question coming in from Marianne McCann. And she says, the hard part for me is that I'm part of a community of people and not a business. And she wonders how an existing community base could be served under a Sansar model. Yeah,
so what's the social infrastructure? How do you belong to a community? How do you manage a community?
Yeah.
How do you leave a community?
Impossible.
How do you find a community?
How do you find a community? Exactly.
How do you escape?
Yeah. Those are, and then how do community leaders manage communities, communicate with communities, organize communities? I mean, there's a lot of things around those things that I think are going to be powerful over time, and we have to decide. You know, there are possibilities of things we can do. There's also possibilities of how we can integrate with other platforms for some of these things, and I'm not sure yet. But you know, we will have some social fabric, obviously, where you can have connections. You know, call them friends, and then over time you have to figure out how do I group them and what actions can I take to these groups? Can I mail these groups? Can I chat with these? You know, so there's a lot we want to do there, but it's clear to us that obviously allowing people to form communities and belong and manage communities is a critical piece of you know, a social product. I mean, this is ultimately a social product. So making it easy for people to have social experiences and manage their social relationships and communities is going to be critical, absolutely.
The next question comes from Catherine Elizabeth, and she said, you mentioned at SLB12 that Sansar users may have multiple personas for accounts, allowing a shared inventory. Will these multiple personas, or you know, as we call them here in Second Life, alts, be able to be simultaneously logged in? You know, for instance, if you want to make a group photo or a video, etc.
That last piece, I'm not sure about that last piece. I mean, we're trying to make it so that it's easy for users to manage multiple personas. I mean, it's not that easy in Second Life. You sort of, you know, you have to go all the way out. You have to create a new account. You have to log all the way out or log way in. Is there an easier for me to swap them because I'm going to different contexts or different types of experiences where it makes sense for me to have different persona. And in some experiences, you know, the persona, at least from what your avatar looks like, will be dictated by the creator of an experience. I mean, if you're coming into my game or into my world, here are your options for what you can look like. You know, you pick, and it's up to the creator to choose. Like if you're coming into my space thing, you're going to be an astronaut. You can't come in here as like a hippie, you know, in flip-flops. It's just going to completely break. Yeah, it's going to be breaking that experience, just like Joe doesn't like it when I show up in jeans in her world.
Oh, I
So
think you haven't done that. He has.
So how do we make it easier for people to be able to bop in and around all these experiences and sort of and manage these personas without having to create all these alt accounts? And then the alt accounts just create headaches for our users, and they create headaches for us too with all these accounts that it's hard to sort of keep track of what they're for. Don't know when we'll, you know, so we built sort of the notion of these personas into the Sansar sort of platform from the beginning. When we choose to sort of expose the front end and that users can sort of manage multiple personas is sort of still TBD, but we're sort of building it with the idea that you can have multiple personas. But I have no idea if you can actually be in world in each of these personas simultaneously for a group photo like that. I don't know if that's going to. It sounds like the answer is no in my head, but I'm not sure if anyone. I haven't heard that come up before, so that's something for the team to speak to.
Yes, this wouldn't be complete without asking one Oculus Rift question. And Trede Felicimo says he's curious to know how Second Life and Sansar are working with Oculus Rift or with mobile. Someone else, and I haven't got the question in front of me at the moment, sorry, brought up the question of Google Cardboard. Are there plans to be able to access this?
So well, clearly we're working very closely with the Oculus hardware and making sure that Sansar experiences are smooth and comfortable in you know as current Oculus hardware as we can possibly have that I can't talk about. And then you know, we will be working with other HMDs or head-mounted display vendors as well to make sure we work with those. Once we get to the mobile stuff, like Gear VR or the cardboard stuff, that's where you start to be like in a really difficult place. So I would say from a technically complexity of what content can you sort of run in a rich, immersive way, you know, it's sort of the easiest is probably PC. And then it's Oculus maybe, then it's mobile, and then VR mobile is sort of like the most difficult because you have the burden of, you know, stereoscopic, so you have to render everything twice, you have to do it at a high frame rate, you have to deal with the fact that the content's created by users that don't necessarily are not necessarily creating content with that target platform in mind. So you just, you know, I mean, on a Gear VR, you start to peak out around 50,000 polygons, right? So the experience we're sitting inside of here now, I don't know what the polygon count is, but I'm pretty damn sure that it's going to blow the 50,000 budget out of the water. So
a few zillion.
yeah, so how do you make it so that creators, over time, we want to try to figure out how we make it possible for creators to understand what experience or what devices is their content even appropriate for? I mean, you reach a point where we just say, sorry, you're past the point of being a reasonable experience for, you know, Gear VR or cardboard. It's just, you know, too much going on, too many textures, too many polygons. And then you back up from there, you reach a point where say, sorry, you've blown your budget for what's possible even on a high-end, you know, gaming machine with an Oculus. You're now sort of in the domain exclusively of a PC experience. And so how do we make content creators sort of understanding what devices their content could possibly function on? Something we have to think a lot about. Over time, we probably have to do runtime, you know, diagnostics to understand what experience is actually performing in a reasonable way across different platforms. And at some point maybe say that, sorry, this experience can't be entered into on this device because you don't have enough horsepower to have it function properly. So, you know, then you start to have whether it's automated or hand curated in some form to basically say, these are the experiences that you can run on PC. Here's a subset of those you can run with an Oculus. And here's another subset of that you can actually run on a Gear VR type of device. That's something we have to think through. And on top of that, we're trying to make sure we do what we can with, you know, automatic content optimization, performance improvement stuff to make, you know, automatic polygon reduction type of techniques to make content more performant across more devices. So yeah, we want to figure out how to, you know, educate the creators as much as possible about what they can expect, that how their content can be consumed.
Excellent.
So that's maybe answers it. And I mean, I think clearly the most users will have access to sort of the least performant experiences. So you start with a cardboard, and then from there you go to a Gear VR, and the more performant, the better the experience get, the fewer users you're going to have that have access to that type of hardware. So it's like we would love to make sure that users can create really fun, cool experiences that people on even cardboard and Gear VR can consume. But at the same time, if you want to have a really rich experience, especially a social, multi-user, sort of social, rich experience, I don't expect too much of that to happen on a Gear VR. I think then you'll be on PCs and Oculus type of hardware to get that level of immersion. And there's a lot of other shortcomings too with the mobile stuff of not having proper tracking of where you are in 3D space, which sort of forces you to try a different type of experience when you can't have that instantaneous feedback of where you are positioned within 3D space like you can with an Oculus or a Vive or a Sony. And it's going to be over the next several years. I mean, it's going to take years for VR hardware to sort of reach a broad enough audience that that's something that's going to be a primary use case for a lot of people. I think, which is why we make Sansar in such a way that you can consume it just as well on a PC or mobile as you can in VR hardware. And it's going to be the case for quite a while. And some use cases will probably be preferred to be done on PC for quite a long time. So I am extremely bullish and extremely excited about VR hardware, but I'm also being quite realistic that it's going to be, many years before that is sort of a huge market that you can address in a sort of in a clean way. It's going to be messy for a while. I mean, it's going to be messy for a while. There's no doubt, because there's going to
use those words in Second Life.
We're used to it. We can do that. We can cope.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fragmentation with these big companies, Google and Microsoft and Facebook, and it's probably just a matter of time before Apple comes out with something, whatever. And it's like, so you don't have to sort of, it's the mess you have on mobile, Android, iOS. At least there, you're just dealing with two, more or less. Microsoft is so far behind that you kind of focus on two platforms. For VR, it's quite a bit messier than that for a while before things sort of shake out and we can see who the winners will be that will capture a large audience, and which ones will be sort of the people on the edge that will never get a big audience.
Well, although I'm sure we could keep this going for quite a while, sadly, we're coming to the end of our show for today.
I would like to thank our guest, Ebbe Linden, for coming here to answer residents' questions today, and we look forward to seeing you on LabChat again soon, I hope.
I'm looking forward to coming back, and thank you so much for organizing this and holding this event, and thank you all for coming, and please keep the questions coming, and I'm sure we'll do more of these soon. I'm not sure when it's my turn or if you get access to other labbers, but the more of this, the better. Thank you.
The more the merrier.
Absolutely. We'd like to thank the people who made this possible, the LabChat team, Linden Lab, and the people at the Linden Endowment for the Arts. Thank you all, and thank you to the residents of Second Life for making all this possible.
Cheers.
And if you'd like to see this show again, the video will appear shortly on the Second Life YouTube channel and on the LabChat website, as well as AView TV. And there will be audio highlights on the Drax Radio Hour podcast, and there will also be a transcription of the show on the website shortly. And you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, etc., and of course on our website at labchatsl.wordpress.com.
LabChat?
LabChat.